For those who don't know Billy Big Shot Beats, I'm gonna introduce Billy. Billy Big Shot Beats is a producer. He has had a tremendous amount of success in sync over the past year. He graduated from the TV placement mastery program. He implemented everything that I taught in that program, and within a year, he has like hundreds of TV placements from one production album that he did with the publisher that he ended up linking with as a result of being in the program. Billy Big Shot Beats, what's good? How you feeling, bro?
Boom. Hey, thank you for having me on here, man. Hey, I'm feeling great. It's an honor to come on, on your channel and to just jam it out with your community. All about sync. And man, shout out to you because you share the sauce with me, and it's just been amazing to see the explosion of placements that I got
Yeah.
off of what we worked on. And yeah, it's just been an amazing journey, man. Appreciate you, bro.
Yeah, no doubt, man. It's been crazy, man, just to see because I remember if I'm not mistaken, man, you had went through like an earlier webinar that I had like years ago and got you had the OG Road to 10 placements,
Rose 10 placement, yeah.
the PDF version. I don't even think it was video yet. But you had that. So like I guess just tell the people about your story, how you got started in production, and then we'll kind of jump into the whole sync and
Cool. Okay. So for me, well, once again, my name is Billy Big Shot Beats here, tuning in live from Toronto in Canada over here. Born and raised in Montreal, which is about 4 or 5 hours east of where I'm at right now. And yeah, I remember I started music production with some childhood friends back in the day, because I was all into hip hop all through high school and everything, and I fell in love with that process. I think it was around when Jay Z dropped an album where Timberland and Pharrell and a bunch of other guys was in that footage, that behind the scene footage, and I think that's where it really connected with me that I wanted to be a music producer. So moving forward, I had a little group with some childhood friends, and we know how that goes sometimes when you do something with friends, right? It doesn't always work out. So I decided to move out of Montreal to pursue my career as a music producer, and that brings me into being, working on my craft for 20 years now. But 10 years ago, I came online to build my music production business to serve the artist community, especially the upcoming artist community, because I was chasing the majors before. I was chasing the major label, major artist, trying to get a major deal, so to speak. But even though I got in the studio with Waka Flocka, Jada Kiss, Gunplay, just to name a few, nothing great came out of that. Like nothing official was released off of that studio work.
right.
But then I turned to the internet to work with independent music artists. But in that process, right, because I wanted to work with upcoming musicians just like myself to bring something new to the music industry stable so that once we hit the charts, then they come to us kind of thing, right? So it's like the other way around kind of thing.
Yeah,
In
right.
that process, I was still learning about business. I was still learning about how to generate revenue with my music production and everything. And one of those things was, how do I get my music played on TV shows or TV and films and stuff like that? So
Yeah.
I was trying to figure it out, and like many in the space, I don't know. I couldn't put two and two together to get results. Like I was trying to reach out to companies, I was trying to send out tracks randomly. It was very inconsistent. It was very like, oh, okay. I reached out to a couple companies, not seeing anything, not seeing any results. So I guess it's a thing where I don't know. It might not never happen. So moving forward, I invested in some few courses, and I wasn't getting any results.
Yeah.
But then I came across the Rose 10 placement PDF, started to take action, and this is where I started to started to see some results at a very low scale,
Mm.
and then very very few steps to implement in order for you to get results. But the name of the game when it comes to getting your beats placed or your music placed on TV, films, commercials, and so on and so forth is consistency. All right,
Facts. Yep.
you gotta make consistency your last name. Otherwise, if you ain't consistent, the results are definitely not going to be consistent. So, in a nutshell, this is kind of my story when it comes to my journey, when it comes
Yeah.
to sync placements and stuff like that. So, yeah,
Wow. That's crazy, man. And I think that's a problem that a lot of producers have is, they may hear about it or, they see these big artists talk about, sync is where it's at, sync placements, the sync fees. But then like nobody actually knows how to do it, or you don't even a lot of people don't even know what to search to even Google how to get TV placements, even though they could search how to
exactly.
get TV placements. But when you've never done anything, you don't know what you're looking for. So you end up kind of getting pulled into a lot of third party companies who are, saying, hey, we'll pitch your music, blah, blah, blah. But then you end up having to pay, monthly subscription fees and submission fees and things like that. But, there's a more direct way to kind of go about it to where you don't have to, pay any fees or anything like that. So like, what was like your first interaction with a licensing company? Like once you kind of figured out, okay, this is the approach I need to take to try and start getting some TV placements.
Well, to backtrack off of what you just said, right? I remember back in the day, I got myself into a subscription for a company that promised that they would pitch your music to sync licensing companies and everything. And I remember I was in there, and through that process, you submit your music, and then you have people in that company that listens to your music, and then it gets filtered through so that they can then submit it to the actual sync licensing companies or whoever they have a relationship with to submit the music. So my music started to get in layers and layers of people, and that kind of didn't get me results. And then when I came across your strategy, following your simple steps, what I realized is that you can easily get access to the people that are in the forefront of the companies that have things going with their music library, for the TV networks, for the films and all that good stuff. And
Right.
the interaction that I started to get it was pretty straightforward, right? So
Yeah.
asking, okay, are you currently accepting submissions? I'm a XYZ genre music producer. I can fulfill on that genre specifically. Are you looking to, to accept submissions and stuff like that? And I started to get responses, but the responses that I was getting is like, oh, we're not accepting at that time. We'll consider you at a later date. And I
Mm-hmm.
started to see a pattern where it was that was like a repeated answer. So I was like, okay, so I'm starting to get some results here. I'm starting to get some response because I used to get no response at all before. I
Mm-hmm.
started to get some response, so I was like, okay, so what is it that I'm doing wrong, right? And I
Yeah.
remember I used to just submit random music out. I had like a streaming link. Yes, I had music that I personally thought that would get considered for something like that, instead of the other way around where I had to think about the person that was actually going to listen to the music that could possibly get placed, right?
Yeah.
So I had to make a shift, and then this is where I decided to reach out. So I got rid of the subscription thing that I had
Yeah.
going on. I remember I had a 1 year subscription, and I didn't renew that or whatever. So
Mm-hmm.
it was a journey of learning and figuring some things out. But yeah, when I came across your strategy, I started to get some response. But then again, I still had to to do a shift. I still had to tweak my approach so that it
Yeah.
could be of value to the people that I would reach out to, or that I would submit to, and so on and so forth. Right? So you have to
Yeah.
do it with an intention, not thinking about yourself, but thinking about them, the people that
Yeah.
are going to use your music for what they need. Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome, man. And that's what it's all about, man. Just kind of, again, when you don't know, you try a few different things out and kind of figure out, okay, what gets me results, and then when you figure out what's getting you results. It's like, okay, how can I double down? So like when you also shout out to LW. She says you need to do voiceover for audiobooks because you have a great voice.
I appreciate that. I do some voiceover work for some brands out here in Toronto, Canada,
Yeah.
for social media and stuff like that. But yeah, this is something that I'm definitely gonna pursue and go a little bit deeper on. So I appreciate it.
Yeah, yeah, no problem, man. And I know if you the Golden Voice podcast
The
is
Golden Voice Podcast. Yeah, you
the
know, man.
so that's Billy's podcast. When I seen that name, I was like, bro, that's like literally the best name for his podcast. It's crazy. Um,
Story of my
s-
life, man. My voice is like story of my life. Since high school, some people would tell me, "Man, Billy, you got a radio voice," and I used to mimic people from the radio and stuff like that. So
yeah,
it kind of followed me. And yeah, thank God for this gift and this talent that He gave me. So I'm definitely gonna use it for, to influence people with,
yeah,
So yeah.
yeah. Yeah, man. So listen, like for those who don't know, and I don't think anybody really knows this, but Billy low key like pushed me into coaching. Like I had no plans on starting like a group coaching, one on one coaching. Like I've done consultations, but then I was just kind of phasing those out just because it required so much time. But Billy hit me up. He reached out. He was just like, "Look, I'm going through the steps in Road to 10 Placements course. I'm still kind of running into this brick wall and I'm not sure what needs to be tweaked, what needs to be fixed. Would you consider, just kind of coaching me like, for some type of mentorship or whatever?" And man, I was just like, man, I had like, I didn't really want to do coaching or like get into like a long form like mentorship program. But then once I seen that, okay, producers need more hands-on help sometimes. Like, there's some people who can take the course, they run with it, get results fine, but then sometimes you need to experience that information in a different way. So like what triggered that? Like what kind of pushed you to say like, okay, like I need some type of mentorship to get past, or like what were you struggling with to even get to that level?
So really what I was struggling with is the approach, right? Because it's one
Okay.
thing to get the book and to get the instructions and you go about it by yourself to get some results, right? I
Right.
remember my mentor shared this at one point. He got this book and the story in it was that, this guy learned how to literally, just like the army, plan an attack from one camp to another camp. And then he
Right.
was breaking down, the steps in order for you to do that, and then you get put in the situation where your actual child gets kidnapped and you have to go on the other camp and successfully retrieve your child, pull them out of the hostage situation and everything.
Yeah.
What are the chances that by you just reading the book that you would successfully achieve something like that? There's
Mm.
a chance that you could. I'm not being completely negative here, but
Right.
I think that if you would go directly to the source, get some training, and get to the actual mentor to show you and to really compress the time that's going to take you to achieve that result is what I believe in, right? So I always believe in investing in myself through a mentor so that I can get the results that I'm looking for. Because here's where sometimes people don't understand it. So you have to look at the people that are already achieving something that is your goal. And
Mm-hmm.
then for me, it's just I take the shortcut of investing not in them, but through me to get their mentorship so that I can shortcut that, so that I can shorten at least the process of me getting results. 8 years, bro. 8 years of trying to figure it out, and then I reach out to you, seek out some accountability, coaching, mentorship,
Yeah.
and then I think it took 1 month. I had a deal with 10 tracks. So picture this. So road to 10 placements, right? So you get 10 beats placed within a year period, whatever case may be. I seek out mentorship. I get 10 beats placed at once, one deal, instead of having,
Yeah.
okay, I get the one deal with the one beat. It was 10, like a 10 beat album deal,
Yeah.
and that 10 beat album deal is the results of having over 800 placements in all the major networks, all sports channels, everywhere and counting. 800.
That's
See this
insane.
plaque over here? This plaque over here is for the community, by the way. I got the 10x, and I'm probably gonna get the 100x a little bit later on. But
Yeah.
it was just off of following, you know, my instinct of, seeking help, seeking mentorship from somebody that's already achieving what it is that I want to achieve, and then I shorten the amount of time that it takes for me to get some results. So yeah,
Man.
that's my thought process, but just my approach, like the minor tweak, to come back to the story of my mentor. He said you can learn how to shoot, you can read the book and everything. You go on the field, you shoot, but you by being off just a couple millimeters, you won't hit the target. But if you
Mm.
come in and the mentor shows you, okay, you should position like this, and you do a minor tweak, and boom, you start hitting the target just off of that simple tweak that the mentor or your coach instructed you on. This is where you can get results a lot faster than if you just try to figure it out all by yourself.
Yeah, that's a fact. And that's what it ended up being, man. It was just a couple small tweaks because your production was on point. Like we knew that, but there were some things that we could kind of clean up and optimize. And as soon as we did that, it really supercharged and took things off. And mentorship it's the cheat code, man. Like I just purchased a program. Actually, it's like a monthly program
Mhm.
for some coaching stuff, and it's like it's the cheat code, man. And it doesn't even matter how much it costs because you always know like the return on the investment is going to be infinite, right? Because
Oh yeah,
it's something that you can continue to apply over and over. Your royalties will never stop, by the way. So
never
congratulations
stop.
on that. They're never going to
Appreciate that.
stop. Um, so now, okay, so let's talk about this. The first deal that you got, like it was 10 tracks. Like how did that go down? Did they ask you for 10? Did you? Because I know we created the pitch playlist, which was like 5 tracks. So like, how did that happen? Once they said yes, we want to do a whole album with you. How did that go down?
So actually, that wasn't my very first deal. I had a
Okay.
couple of deals before that were in libraries, and one of them that I was in, they catered more to providing music to content creators or videographers or
Okay.
creatives that was creating either commercials or weddings and stuff like that. So I was in a couple of them before that, but that one I would say it was the first deal that I had with multiple tracks all at once. And it was a big one because it's one of the most recognized network when it comes to music licensing.
Yeah.
And what's interesting with that deal is that at first it was a no. We're not looking for the music that you're currently submitting for
Okay.
whatever reason.
Yeah.
So when I switched my approach with what you mentioned by creating a list of 5, 10, and I remember I went all in. Like I just said, you know what? We're creating five. I just created
You started
20
from
tracks.
and you started
I
from
st-
scratch because I
and
because
I
there was
started
a
from
few.
scratch.
I was like, yo, like you all you gotta do is tweak these. Like these are ready. You was like, nah, like I'm gonna start from the ground up, and he just
I
built new
just
tracks.
Yeah, I just reset. I built new tracks, and I went for 20. Right, so I had a catalog of 20 beats that were intentionally, you know, that was the my intention was to really cater to the more specific genre of music that I would provide to that person. Right,
Hmm.
so at first it was a no, and for me, a no is next opportunity. Somebody say next opportunity in the chat right now because the first no, I was like, okay, you're not currently looking for the track that I submitted, but okay, so what is it that you're actually looking for so that I can fulfill? Because I can cater to a lot of genres. So even though I submitted a variety of tracks, I had to refine a little bit more and be like, okay, what is it that you're actually looking for? And to my surprise, he replied back and the conversation kept going. And he's like, okay, if you can provide tracks that are along those lines and that line, which was a perfect match because I could fulfill on that part. I ended up submitting 20 tracks that was around what they were looking for. And, as you mentioned, do tracks around this genre with these elements and model after this. And that's exactly what I did. And then boom, 10 tracks was selected right there.
Wow.
And I actually got paid. I
Before
actually
it
got paid
before they even got
before
placed.
before even they even got placed. So that
Wow.
was a big plus right there. And just to do a little bit of due diligence, I was showing Clint the contract and everything, and then he's like, "Man, if I was you, I'll take that deal. Everything looks pretty good."
Back into the stream.
I'm like,
Yeah, no, bro, our power like literally just like went out for like two
"Oh wow,
seconds. So I had to wait for like everything to come back up.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
it's crazy. So, and then my wife texted me. She's like, "Oh, our youngest just threw up in the bed. So
oh
yeah,
my
he's taking
god,
another bath. It's Wednesday.
that's
So
crazy."
okay. So we were talking about how you got paid for the beats before they even got
Yeah.
placed. Which is in sync. We call that like consideration fees. Or sometimes they could be buyout fees to where you don't get like upfront sync fees for those tracks, but you'll still get all of your royalties on the back end. So it
Hmm.
just depends. But so you were able to like to make some quick money real quick before they even got placed, and then excuse me, and then what happened next, bro? So the album they published the album. Like, what happens next? When did you even find out about the placements?
So what happened next is that I had to submit all the edits for those tracks, right? So it's one thing to get accepted into the music licensing library, but there's a whole bunch of work that gets involved after you get accepted. So I had to submit all the edits, 15 seconds, 30 seconds, even I think there was like 1 or 2 second edits, 30 seconds, 1 minute, minute and 15, and minute and a half, and I think the last one was the full track of almost 2 minutes, and I had to do that for all 10 of them. Submit all the stems, make sure that they are mixed in a way that is there's no effects on them. It's like more raw, and then you have to give them headroom, meaning that the levels can't be too high, so that they can go in and do their own mix and all that good stuff, right?
Yep.
So worked on that. It took a little while because I was like I even hit you up one time. I was like, man, some of these edits, man, it has to be exactly 30 seconds and exactly 15 seconds. And I was like, man, some of these edits are so weird, but yeah, that's what they wanted. And they're like, yeah, perfect. Yeah, that works. Those awkward, like you have to do like the intro a little bit weird, or the
Yep.
ending a little bit weird, so that if it has to finish exactly, sting ending and everything exactly at 15 seconds or exactly at 30 seconds. So it
Yep.
was a learning process, definitely a learning process for me on that, and then finding files, because a couple of the tracks that they accepted or that they wanted was a few were a little bit older, and I grabbed some elements from that to revamp and everything. But yeah, it was just a work in the process. So from there, submitted everything got approved, signed the papers, got paid, and all that good stuff, and then I let it coast,
Yeah.
right? I kind of let it coast, and then I remember it a couple months ago or beginning? I think it was the beginning of this year or end of last year.
Yeah.
I got I got a notification for a payment that was much higher than what I usually get
Right.
when it comes to royalty payments. So I was like, "Uh oh, something's happening here."
Yeah.
And then I started noticing that I think it was a couple months after everything got accepted from that music licensing company that things started to get placed. And it doesn't happen like immediately or right away. It's kind of like a snowball effect kind of thing. And I
Right.
started, and then when I got that payment that was much higher than what I usually get when it comes to royalty payments through my PRO, I logged in, and to my surprise, I started seeing royalties from tracks that were played on the Olympics, tracks that were played on sports networks, reality TV shows in these sport networks like the golf, boxing, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
HGTV, and the list goes on, like NHL, NBA, this and that, and that's alongside work that I did with a company here that I also do some work with, a jewelry brand here that is partnered with the NBA team here, the Toronto Raptors here in Canada, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's all alongside of that. That's already happening. That's already a breakthrough in itself. Did
Wow.
my first ad voiceover, this that played in the arena and all that good stuff, and then I see the royalty payment come in much higher than what I usually get, and then I realized that while I was kind of like sitting waiting and kind of being patient, right? I wasn't expecting to be right away, but
Right.
because I got paid too, right? But like to see that while I was kind of waiting, I didn't see it right away, and then I went back, and then there's this tool, TuneSat, is it TuneSat
Yep.
or
Tune set.
is TuneSat, and then there was another one, There's another one, anyways. I went there and then I kind of hit you up, right? Because we had to check, we had to experience that moment together. So I remember
Yeah.
calling you and I'm like, bro, things are happening in a major way. Man, I'm starting to see my tracks in the Olympics and this and that and reality TV shows and all that. I went into TuneSat and then there was over what was it again? Like over 300 detection off of the tracks that
Yeah.
were in that deal. And
Yeah.
then we started to go through that list. I'm like, oh my god, bro, TSN, friggin' NHL, MLB,
Yeah.
NBA, all these networks and all these things, Cartoon Networks, HGTV, Showtime,
Yep.
this, that, and it was just an explosion of credits, just crazy. And I remember you telling me like that company that you got accepted in is one of the top ones too, like because it's a big umbrella under this big one,
Yeah.
and you're like, man, if you get this one, it's gonna be a huge one. And yeah, we're
Yeah.
at over 800 and counting, and that's off of just 10. So like, not right now, my thought process is just to 100, if not 1000x that, so that I can keep building that up and keep moving. And like you said, it's passive income royalties that are never gonna stop, never gonna end.
Yep.
And this is something that for legacy wise is something that I'm gonna be able to pass on to my children's children.
Yep.
And that's what makes it amazing. So
Yeah,
yeah.
man. That's crazy, man. Like, because it's only one production music album, bro. Like, so and
Yeah,
now since your foot is in the door, it's gonna be super easy to reach back out to that company and say, hey, want to know if you guys are interested in doing another album together. And you've already
exactly.
had success with the first one. It's gonna be a no brainer for them.
And what's
Um,
cool And what's cool is that I'm one of the main hip hop producers that are on
mhm.
there, and they actually did this thing on their main page where you see like big shot beats for hip hop on their main page. So that was
Wow,
that was pretty cool. You know what I mean? Like way to
that's
get a little bit
dope.
of exposure and getting your foot in the door and in the game.
Yeah.
That was actually pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah, like man, like so if they put that on the front of their site, all of the clients that they have that comes to their website is going to see that. And if they're looking for hip hop music, like you're one of the first guys they're going to see for that. Which is just probably why that joint went up crazy. And they were distributed through APM Music, which is like one of the
OPM,
massives.
yeah.
That I mean, that's like immediate worldwide placements. It's
And actually,
insane.
their office is actually in Toronto too. So I'm gonna have
Really?
to one of these days like go there, bring a bottle of champagne or something, and be like, "Hey, I appreciate the opportunity," and
Yeah.
kind of have a conversation with that guy, right? So I think that
Oh
that
man.
would be a pretty dope move to make. Yeah,
Absolutely, dude. I think that would supercharge the relationship because now he,
yeah,
he has that human interaction and experience with you. So now like he knows you. So oh
hmm
man, yeah, dude. That's crazy.
oh yeah.
That's crazy. So congrats and DJ Horn. We gotta
Boom! I appreciate
gotta
you,
give you
bro.
the gotta give you the DJ Horn. We got a
Oh
question
yeah.
from Lamar Webster. He says, "Great story, Billy. Did you have all instrumentals on that album?"
Yes, it was all instrumentals. There was no vocal recordings or anything because when it comes to music that you're submitting for, to get synced or for licensing, right? I'm a music producer, so it would be a little bit different when it comes to having an artist on the track, which there's a place for that too. But yeah, all of those that I submitted for that deal were all instrumentals. Yeah,
Wow. So that answers the question that a lot of producers have. Like, can I still get into sync if I only have instrumentals? The answer is absolutely.
absolutely.
So just seeing a brief, honestly, a few briefs this past week, all of them are instrumentals for the most part.
Yeah.
Um, So, well, no, I'll say most because a couple of them was mixed. It was like, some spots they wanted instrumentals, some spots they wanted full songs, but
Right.
absolutely still opportunities for instrumentals. Let me see if I missed any other questions. LW says this is a great endorsement for Clint's program. Sign up ASAP. Thank you,
Sign me up.
LW. Indeed, man. TV placement mastery. That's where we master. Like, I mean, it's 12 weeks, and Billy, like, you can attest to this. Like, there's like we just hit the ground running. It's just like, let's do this, this, and this. We're trying to hurry up because success loves speed. So we're trying to like hurry up, get through these companies so we can hurry up and find the one that's going to say yes, so that we can hurry up, get to the licensing deal, so we can hurry up and get to the placements. And Billy was able to do that like within 1 year. It's crazy. Now everybody doesn't have the same results. Billy was one of those students that it just worked out. Like, he was the first one to win a TV placement award plaque. He was the first one to hit over 100. So like by the time we had the 10x plaque shipped out to him, he had already surpassed 100. He was like, "Yo, we sent you the wrong plaque, bro." So it's just crazy, man. It's crazy. Let me see if there's any other.
Appreciate you for that, bro.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I don't think I missed any other ones. Patty says in Toronto. Yeah, the company was in Toronto, right?
Yeah,
Licensing
in
company.
Toronto, yeah. Based out of Toronto, yeah.
Nice.
And then it was under the API. No, is it API?
APM.
APM, yeah, under the
Yep.
APM umbrella,
Nice.
which is, in the program, like you go through a directory, right? Like you get a list of publishers, sync licensing, music libraries that you can contact, right?
Yep.
And I remember it was the APM in the list, and then when I went to the APM website, there's a procedure or steps that you have to go in and find where to go to find a contact that allows you to submit. And then
Right.
there was other companies underneath there, and then I started to go under those companies. So I
Yep.
didn't even go through the whole list yet of the full directory.
Yeah.
So I went to the APM one, and then I started to go through those ones, and then I got something off of just that one element in that listing. So
Yeah.
it's crazy, crazy.
Yeah, man.